The weight of the world. The art of enduring silently. There are seasons in life when the world feels heavier than usual. When every step feels like walking through water. When the people you love drift away, and the dreams you once carried begin to fade into memory. It is in those quiet, unseen moments that the true measure of a human being is revealed. Most break under the weight. A few learn to carry it. And fewer still learn to carry it silently. He was one of those few. Not born strong, nor fearless, nor wise. Just ordinary. But life, as it often does, had plans to forge him. He lost things that once defined him. Friendships faded. Promises broke. The world grew indifferent. And yet, through it all, he remained still. Not because he felt no pain, but because he understood something most never learn. That pain is not the enemy. It is the teacher. At first, he resisted. He asked the questions we all ask when life begins to tighten its grip. Why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this? But the more he struggled against the weight, the heavier it became. Until one morning, exhausted and empty, he simply stopped fighting. And in that stillness, he found clarity. He realized, the world owes him nothing. No explanations. No fairness. No comfort. Everything he had ever called his job, his reputation, even his body, was never truly his to keep. He understood, at last, that life is not about escaping the weight, it's about learning how to carry it with grace. So he began to rebuild, not from ambition, but from necessity. He started small. Each morning, he rose before the sun, not to conquer the day, but to honor it. He made his bed, not because it mattered to the world, but because it disciplined his soul. He walked, slowly, deliberately, with no destination but forward. He watched the dawn unfold and realized that the sun rises not for applause, but because it must. So he too decided. He would rise, not for recognition, but because that is what life demands of a man. Days became months, and though the weight never truly left, it began to change. What once crushed him now strengthened him. He learned that there is quiet dignity in endurance. That to bear pain without complaint is not weakness, it is mastery. Each day became an act of defiance, against despair, against doubt, against the impulse to quit. He discovered that real courage is not found in battlefields or applause, but in facing another day when your heart is tired, and still choosing to stand. People began to notice something in him. A stillness. A presence. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that cannot be ignored. They would ask him, "How do you do it? How do you stay so calm when everything falls apart?" And he would simply smile and say, "I stopped asking the world to be light. I learned to grow strong enough to carry its weight." He began to understand what the Stoics meant when they spoke of accepting fate, amor fati. To love your fate. To embrace every trial not as punishment, but as participation in something greater than yourself. So when storms came, he no longer cursed them. He opened his hands and welcomed the rain. Because he knew, without storms, the tree never grows deep roots. Without trials, the soul never grows steady. He began to see hardship as a forge. Every challenge, a hammer striking the metal of his character. Every failure, a fire refining his resolve. And like the blacksmith's art, endurance became his craft. Each day, he shaped himself through patience, through repetition, through silence. He no longer sought comfort. He sought alignment. To live in harmony with what is, not what should be. He realized that every man carries an invisible burden. For some, it's the weight of expectation. For others, regret. For many, it's simply the heaviness of being human. The difference lies not in the weight itself, but in how it is carried. Some collapse beneath it, some curse it, but a few, a rare few, learn to walk with it until it becomes their strength. Like a stone carried long enough, the burden becomes smooth, no longer a source of pain, but a reminder of endurance. He came to understand that the quietest people are often the strongest. That those who carry their weight without complaint have already mastered a language beyond words, the language of resilience. He realized that silence is not emptiness. It is power restrained. It is pain understood. It is wisdom earned through fire. So he chose silence. Not out of fear, but out of strength. There were nights he still felt alone. When the world seemed cold, and his efforts unnoticed. But even then, he reminded himself, you do not endure for applause. You endure for the soul. Because the world is not meant to be easy. It is meant to shape you. And sometimes, shaping hurts. He remembered the words of Epictetus. Don't wish for things to happen as you want them to. Wish for them to happen as they do, and you will go on well. Those words became his compass. He stopped wishing for ease and started wishing for strength. And in time, strength came, not in loud victories, but in quiet endurance. He became unshakable, not because the world grew gentler, but because he no longer needed it to. Every hardship he faced became a stepping stone, every disappointment a lesson, every loss a reminder of impermanence. And slowly, almost without noticing, the weight that once bent his back had built his spine. He came to see life as a long walk up a mountain. At first, the path is crowded, voices, noise, distractions, companions. But as you climb higher, it grows quieter. The air thins. The silence deepens. And in that silence, you meet yourself. That is where most turn back. But not him. He welcomed the solitude. He had learned that solitude is not loneliness, it is the training ground of the soul. Because when you are alone, you learn that everything you need has always been within you. Years passed. And one day, a younger man asked him, Master, what is the secret to peace? He paused, looked at the horizon, and said quietly, the world will always be heavy. That will never change. But so long as you grow stronger, the weight will feel lighter. The art of endurance is not in escaping hardship, but in becoming equal to it. The mountain does not grow smaller, you grow taller. He walked away slowly, the same burden still on his shoulders, but it no longer bent him. It belonged to him now, not as punishment, but as proof of what he had become. He had discovered that peace is not found in a life without storms, but in learning to remain steady within them. He no longer sought rest. He sought readiness. And in that readiness, he found peace. Because when you stop running from the weight, and instead decide to carry it with grace, it transforms. The same weight that once crushed you becomes the foundation upon which you stand. So remember this. Every burden is a lesson. Every struggle, a teacher. And every quiet act of endurance is a victory unseen by the world, but witnessed by your soul. Do not curse the weight. It is shaping you into something stronger than comfort ever could. Carry it well. Carry it silently. And one day, you will look back and realize, the weight of the world was never meant to break you. It was meant to build you. Endure silently. Grow steadily. For even in the heaviest moments, the soul that stands still cannot be broken.